Elena Vargas wore her hair pulled back into a tight bun and a black uniform that was 2 sizes too big for her. She was polishing crystal glasses in the kitchen of the Larrazabal Hotel, the most exclusive event venue in Montevideo, while outside, guests arrived in cars worth more than 10 years of her salary. No one in that ballroom knew that Elena was the majority owner of the hotel group that owned the building. She had inherited it quietly just 3 months earlier, after her uncle's death, and the transfer of shares had not yet been made public. To the world, Elena was still just a low-profile administrator who preferred to go unnoticed. That night, however, she was not there as the owner. She was there as a replacement waitress, because 2 employees had fallen ill, and she, out of habit and love for the profession that had shaped her, decided to cover the shift just as she used to before inheriting the company. No one recognized her face. No one paid attention to her hands that had once signed million-dollar contracts and that tonight were only carrying trays of glasses. The party was the engagement celebration of Marcos Lorena, heir to a construction company on Empire, and Daniela Ferraz, the daughter of an influential politician. 200 guests, imported flowers from the Netherlands, a 12-piece orchestra. Everything had been calculated to impress. Marcos crossed into the kitchen looking for ice and found Elena arranging glasses on a tray. "You. Yes, you," he said, pointing at her without looking her in the eye. "There's a problem at the main table. We're missing champagne glasses, and the guests are waiting. Move faster. We don't have all night." Elena nodded and kept working. She did not respond with sarcasm or wounded pride. She simply continued. Minutes later, while serving at the head table, Daniela looked her up and down with a smile that never reached her eyes. "Do you always work here? Or did they call you from an agency? Because honestly, the service at this place has really gone downhill." Laughter from the nearby guests filled the air. Elena lowered her gaze, poured the drink with steady hands, and walked away without saying a word. But something tightened in her chest. Not because of the humiliation itself, but because she recognized something in Daniela's eyes. The same indifference some people show toward those they consider invisible. If you have ever felt underestimated because of what you appear to be and not because of what you are truly worth, write the word respect in the comments. I want to know how many of you have lived through something similar. The night went on. Marcos's father, Ricardo Lorena, a man with a deep voice and hands covered in rings, stood up to give the official speech of the evening. He spoke about the family legacy, the importance of the right alliances, and how this union would consolidate not only a marriage, but a business empire. "Tonight we celebrate something greater than love," he said, raising his glass. "We celebrate vision. And vision, dear guests, belongs only to those who were born to lead, not to those who serve the drinks." Another wave of laughter. Elena, who at that moment was clearing plates from a nearby table, felt every gaze become a physical weight on her back. But she did not break. Instead, she noticed something no one else seemed to notice. The embroidered logo on the tablecloth, at the main table, the same logo of the Larrazabal Hotel, her logo. That detail, insignificant to everyone else, changed everything for her, because it meant that the event was being billed to her company under a ballroom rental contract she herself had signed 3 weeks earlier without reviewing the full name of the organisers. When she returned to the kitchen, she called her legal assistant in a low voice, making sure no one else could hear the conversation. "I need you to review tonight's event contract. Now, send me everything you have within the next 15 minutes. While she waited for the response, Eleanor kept working as if nothing had changed. She carried trays, collected empty glasses, and smiled politely at those who asked for more wine. On the outside, she was still the invisible waitress of the night. On the inside, every passing minute felt like an hour. 10 minutes later, her assistant confirmed what she already suspected. The event had been booked by Lorena Construction under an exclusivity clause that expired that very night at midnight. If the contract was not renewed before that hour, the construction company would automatically lose its preferred rights to use the event hall for its next 3 annual conventions, an agreement worth more than $500,000 in guaranteed revenue for the hotel. And the only person with the authority to renew or cancel that clause was the majority owner of the group. Her. There was something else in her assistant's message, a line Elena read twice. The clause also included an image agreement, according to which Lorena Construction would use the name and facilities of the Larrazabal Hotel in its next national advertising campaign, presenting it as part of its legacy of family excellence. That same night, while the Lorena family spoke about vision and those born to lead, they were about to use the name of Elena's company to sell an image they did not even respect in practice. Elena looked at the clock. There were 40 minutes left until midnight. She slipped the phone into the pocket of her uniform and took a deep breath. She did not feel anger. She felt something much closer to clarity. At last she understood exactly what she had to do. And why. Don't leave yet. What comes next is the moment you've been waiting for. But before that, if this story already has you hooked, hit like right now, so this video can reach more people who need to see how this ends. With half an hour left before midnight, Marcos returned to the kitchen, this time annoyed because the dessert was delayed. Does no one here know how to do their job? My father just asked about the cake, and you people are still back here wasting time. Elena, holding a folder with documents her assistant had sent by urgent courier, looked at him calmly. The cake is ready, and before they serve the cake, someone should inform your father about the status of tonight's contract. Marcos frowned. What contract? You're a waitress. What do you know about contracts? I know that the ballroom where you are celebrating belongs to the Lara Zabal Hotel, Elena replied without raising her voice. And I know that the exclusivity clause you signed with this company expires in 20 minutes. That's absurd. Our lawyers handle those details. Your lawyers are not the owners of the hotel. I am. The silence that followed was unlike any other silence that night. Marcos looked her up and down, searching her face for some sign that it was a joke. He found none. Elena walked toward the main ballroom, still wearing the waitress uniform, and stopped in front of the microphone the master of ceremonies had used to announce the toasts. When Ricardo Lorena saw her approaching, he made a gesture of irritation, ready to order her to leave. Excuse the interruption, Elena said, her voice clear and steady. My name is Elena Vargas. I am the majority owner of the Lara Zabal Hotel Group, owner of this ballroom where you are celebrating tonight. A murmur spread across the room. Daniela stopped smiling. Ricardo slowly lowered his glass. 3 weeks ago, without reviewing the administrative details, I signed an exclusivity contract with Lorena Construction. Tonight at midnight that contract expires, and after what I have seen and heard at this party, I have no intention of renewing it. This is a tasteless joke, Ricardo said, trying to regain his composure. Call security. Call whoever you want, Elena replied, but call your lawyers too, because without that contract your company's next 3 conventions, scheduled to take place in this very ballroom, are cancelled. And since you have already publicly announced those dates to your investors, I imagine you will have to explain why. This is the moment. If you feel Elena deserves this instant of justice, subscribe to the channel right now and turn on the bell. Here, we post stories like this every week, where those who underestimate others end up learning the hardest lesson of their lives. The entire ballroom fell silent. Some guests already had their phones in their hands recording. Marcos, pale, approached Elena. Wait, we can talk about this in private. We could have talked about it an hour ago, when you ordered me to move faster without even looking me in the face, Elena replied. We could have talked when Daniela questioned the quality of the service in front of 200 people. We could have talked when your father said vision belongs only to those born to lead, and not to those who serve the drinks. You had 3 opportunities. You wasted all 3. Daniela, trying to save the situation, stepped in. We didn't know who you were. If we had known, we never would have spoken to you like that. Elena looked directly at her. That is exactly the problem. Respect should not depend on who I turn out to be. It should depend on who you are when you speak to someone who, in your eyes, has no power. Ricardo, trying to regain control, raised his voice. Miss, if this is true, then let's speak like adults. My company can compensate for any misunderstanding. We can sit down right now, renegotiate the terms, whatever is necessary. There is no misunderstanding to compensate for, Elena said. There is a contract that expires in 4 minutes, and a decision I have already made. One of the guests, an older man Elena recognized as one of the construction company's most important investors, approached visibly uncomfortable. Ricardo, what is this woman talking about? Is the contract issue true? Ricardo did not answer immediately, and that silence was enough of an answer for everyone present. The investor took out his phone and walked toward a corner of the ballroom, dialing a number with a tense expression. Other guests began whispering among themselves, some recording discreetly, others simply watching with a mixture of discomfort and fascination, as if witnessing the quiet collapse of something that had seemed solid. Tonight, while all of you celebrated an alliance of power, Elena continued, you forgot the simplest rule of business and of life. You never know who is standing on the other side of the tray you are pointing at with contempt. The ballroom clock struck midnight. At that instant, the exclusivity contract officially expired. Elena removed the apron from her uniform, folded it carefully, and placed it on one of the empty tables, right in front of Ricardo Lorena. The service tonight was excellent, she said, addressing the guests one last time. The attitude of some hosts, not so much. Good evening, everyone. She walked out of the ballroom amid the murmurs of 200 guests who would never forget that engagement party. Marcos remained standing, frozen, staring at the door Elena had just walked through, as if only then did he understand the true size of the mistake he had made throughout the entire night. 3 days later, news of the contract cancellation reached Lorena Construction's investors, and with it came uncomfortable questions about Ricardo's management. A week later, 2 important partners announced their departure from the company, citing differences in the way business is conducted. 2 weeks later, Marcos and Daniela publicly called off their engagement, unable to bear the weight of the scandal that was already circulating across social media under the name The Waitress Who Was the Owner. And 6 months later, Elena Vargas was officially named president of the Larrazabal Hotel Group, in a ceremony far more discreet than that engagement party, a position that already belonged to her, but that she finally decided to claim out loud that night. Today, when someone asks her why she waited so long to reveal who she really was, Elena always gives the same answer. She did not wait out of fear, nor out of strategy. She waited because she wanted to see, without disguises or protocols, who the people standing in front of her truly were. And that night she saw it with absolute clarity. Because sometimes the greatest power is not in shouting who you are from the beginning. It is in knowing how to wait for the exact moment when your words are worth more than everything they said to you, while they believed you were invisible. If this story made you feel something, subscribe right now and let us know in the comments which part you liked the most. Write the word justice if you believe Elena did the right thing, and if you want to see more stories where true strength is revealed at the most unexpected moment. This channel is for you. Don't miss the next video, because the story coming next will surprise you even more.